Hello viewers, and welcome to the latest installment of the LOTR LCG Progression Series, a production by Cardboard of the Rings, the bi-weekly podcast about the Lord of the Rings the card game, which is a living card game by Fantasy Flight Games. My name is Mitch.
And I'm Matthew.
And today we're going to be playing through the very first scenario of the Hobbit Overhill and Underhill Saga expansion, the quest We Must Away Ere Break of Day. So Matthew, why don't you introduce us to this first scenario?
Bilbo Baggins, a well-to-do hobbit, was enjoying a peaceful morning in the quiet land of the Shire when the wizard Gandalf invited him to join an adventure with Thorin Oakenshield and his company of dwarves. After hosting the unexpected party and hearing their tales, Bilbo found himself trading the comfort of his hobbit hole for the chance to join their quest to the Lonely Mountain. But long miles lay before the mountain, and the company ran into trouble sooner than expected when they encountered 3 hungry trolls in the wild.
So this scenario that we're going to be playing in this video is the very first of an eventual 6 Saga expansion scenarios, in which we have this unique hero, Bilbo Baggins, that's part of the Baggins sphere. He's essentially an additional hero, he's got no threat cost, and the first player is always the player that maintains control of Bilbo Baggins. So if at any point he leaves the game, we end up losing, and he's going to accumulate Baggins resources that over the course of the scenario are going to be absolutely instrumental in our hoping to triumph over this quest. This is very similar to Conflict at the Carrock in that we have 3 very nasty, unique troll adversaries that we're going to have to go up against, and we're essentially presented with 2 different victory conditions. We can either cycle through the entire encounter deck, or we can kill each of these trolls in turn. This quest also presents us with an optional objective, which is exploring this troll cave. And the way that Matthew and I have to do that is somewhere hidden within the encounter deck is a troll key. When it comes into play, it attaches to a troll. When we damage that troll, Bilbo can exhaust to grab that, and then with a big expenditure of resources, we can travel to this troll cave. If we just so happen to end up exploring it by the end of the scenario, then just like in the books, we've successfully managed to come across Glamdring, Sting, and Orcrist, some very powerful treasure cards that would be certain to help us in any upcoming Saga expansion scenarios. But before we get too much more in-depth about the mechanics unique to this quest, why don't we go ahead and take a look at our player decks. This quest is probably the first time in this video series that Matthew and I have had to do a little bit of debate as to which of us was going to include a specific hero, specifically Nori. And in this situation, we thought that it would be most prudent for Matthew to end up including that, so I'm going to be running a tri-sphere deck here. I've got Dwalin for Spirit, Ori for Lore, hoping to accelerate my dwarf-powered card draw. I've got Dane to boost all dwarves, a ton of dwarven allies, including many of the newcomers from the Overhill and Underhill Saga box. I've got a bunch of attachments like Cram for some extra readying, the Hammersmith to hopefully return that to my hand, and some resource acceleration effects that you guys by now should know and love. I've got Cancellation, I've got Sneak Attack, I've got a bunch of card draw effects, so overall, hopefully my deck will be pretty effective. But Matthew, what are you running today?
Well, I've got my trusty Gimli, but besides him, I have 2 new heroes, Bjorn and Nori, both from this new Saga expansion. My allies are largely the same, though I did add Bofer, a new addition to the game, and then Landroval, just in case he might be able to save an overly wounded Bjorn. And then my events are largely included to make sure that I can really do massive damage to the trolls once they come down and engage with us. So while my deck has a relatively high starting threat, and that could be potentially risky, the reason we went with Nori, even though I probably have fewer dwarf allies than Mitch, and the reason I included the Galadrim's Greeting was to hopefully reduce my threat to a slightly lower level. That way we don't have the first 2 trolls engaging with us right away.
Well, now that we've covered our decks, why don't we go ahead and get things started? So I think I'll make myself the first player, and then I'm going to go ahead and shuffle my deck and draw an opening hand of 6 cards. So hoping for the best. So my hand has a lot of very expensive lore cards, definitely not what I'd like to see. There are certainly a lot of nasty events we're looking to cancel, but I am definitely going to have to take a mulligan. How did your hand turn out?
It's sort of funny, with the exception of the video where I played with Glorfindel, I think that was Foundations of Stone, I have never had particular cards I wanted to draw. In this particular quest, there were 4 or 5 cards I was hoping to have in my opening hand, and I got 4 of them, so I think that I am actually pretty satisfied, so I'm going to keep mine.
Well, great. I'm definitely not quite as enthusiastic about my hand. I've got some resource smoothing, some card advantage effects, some not overly useful allies. I've got my Ambush Astari combo, but other than that, it's not the greatest. I might actually have to end up using him for a little bit of card draw, but I guess we might as well go ahead and take a look at our very first quest card, which is Setup. Remove and shuffle these 7 sack cards into a sack deck and set it aside face down. So right over here, we've got these 7 different cards that are a sack deck. So just like there were sacked cards in Conflict at the Carrack, there are 7 different types of sacks that all kind of serve the same immobilizing type effect, but each of them has a specific rule in turn as to what kind of character they get stuck to. We've gone ahead and removed the 3 troll enemies and the troll cave from the encounter deck, and we've set them aside out of play. Something that makes this scenario particularly difficult is that each of these trolls, while they're in play, have some sort of rule. So Tom here means that troll enemies can only be attacked by one character at a time. Bert means players cannot play attachment cards on trolls, and William prevents trolls that aren't engaged with players from taking any damage. So that's why my sneak attack Gandalf is probably going to end up drawing me some cards. We've got to shuffle the encounter deck, and then each of us has to reveal 1 card and add it to the staging area as per usual. So shuffling the encounter deck, card number 1 is more like a grocer. So this is fantastic. Discard all Baggins resources, and it doesn't look like there are any Baggins resources stuck to Bilbo. Card number 2 is Lone Land. So this is 2 threat, forced. After placing 1 or more progress tokens on lone lands, each player removes 1 resource from one of his hero's resource pools if able. But as soon as it leaves play as an explored location, Bilbo gains 1 resource. So this will help us get those oh-so-valuable Baggins resources. So, 2 threat in the staging area. Why don't we go ahead and start our first turn? So 1 resource to each of our heroes, including Bilbo. I'm going to draw 1 card. I've now got a cancellation effect. For me, let's see. I think I'm going to spend 1 of Dane's resources to do a Song of Wisdom on Dane, and I'm going to go ahead and spend 1 of Ori's resources to do a Legacy of Durin on a dwarf hero. And how about yourself, Matthew?
I will not be playing anything.
All right. So that brings us to questing. There are very few enemies in this encounter deck. I could comfortably send 6, and we're up against 2. We've only got to make 7 progress.
Because we're going to sort of wait till we get at least a few allies on the table, or maybe, run across that troll key or troll purse, I think I will not send anyone.
Sure. So I'm fine with just my 6. So encounter card number 1 is a Hungry Troll. So the first player chooses a troll enemy in the staging area. There is not one at the moment. So this card ends up gaining Surge. So it is replaced by encounter card number 1, a Roast 'em or Boil 'em. So when revealed, deals 1 damage to each ally, but it looks like there are no allies in play.
Nice.
So once again, kind of a soft blow from the encounter deck. Encounter card number 2. This is lots or none at all. So if there is a troll enemy in the staging area, sack 1, there is not. So this gains Doomed 2.
Yikes.
So much for you wanting to not engage with 2 trolls at once. Or me taking 1. So I'm at 30, you're at 34. And I guess that's staging. We end up making 1, 2, 3, 4 progress.
Sheesh.
For travel, shall we go to the Lone Lands here?
Yep, might as well, I suppose.
Alright, so that's our active location. And let's see, I suppose, shall we refresh?
Yep, let's go ahead and refresh.
Alright, so Control R. I'm going to go ahead and make you the first player. I'll send Bilbo over to your side of the table. And let's draw one card and do our resources. I'll go ahead and put a resource on Bilbo for you. And what are you doing for planning?
Well, first and only thing I'm going to do is play an Erebor Battlemaster.
Alright.
And then so I will lower my threat by 1. And that's all I can do.
Alright. For my turn, I'm a little bit torn as to what to do, a little bit conflicted here. I certainly am interested in putting Gandalf into play just to get additional card draw, but maybe for the time being, I'm just going to spend 2 resources, and I'm going to do a Miner of the Iron Hills, which is going to trigger Legacy of Durin, so I've got to draw a card, and I ended up drawing a Darren's Runes, so I'm going to go ahead and play that right away. So I will draw 2 cards, and then discard 1 card from my hand. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of a copy of Feely. And I ended up drawing a We Are Not Idle, so I think I'm going to go ahead and play that. I'm going to go ahead and exhaust 3 dwarves to go ahead and add 1, 2, 3 resources to Dwalin. And We Are Not Idle means that I draw a card. Which just so happened to be another copy. I'm going to go ahead and spend 3 resources from Dwalin to play Keely, and I'm going to go ahead and search my deck for a copy of Feely and put him into play. And here he is. I'll close and shuffle my deck, and it looks like this is what I'm set up with here. So I think that's going to go ahead and conclude my turn. So, for questing, I suppose, what are you planning on sending? I'm definitely going to do 4.
So I will just send Bilbo for 1.
Okay, and I'll go ahead and send a total of, 4 for me, so a total of 5. And again, just in the interest of kind of buying us some time, let's go ahead and see encounter card number 1 is another Roastum or Boilum. So this is going to be 1 damage to each ally, 2 damage instead if there's a troll enemy in the staging area. All of my allies have more than 1 hit point, and so do yours, so I guess shall we just let this resolve?
Sure.
Okay, so it'll resolve. That'll be 1 damage to my Miner and both of my little unique allies. So, encounter card number 2 is a Suspicious Crow. So when revealed, reveal the top card of the encounter discard pile and add it to the staging area if able, which is going to be this Roastum or Boilum. So I think at this point I am going to go ahead and spend 1 resource off of Dwalin, and I'm going to go ahead and use a Test of Will. Okay. So I'll remove both of those cards, and that is going to be it for staging.
Okay.
We're up against 1 threat. We're going to end up making 4 progress. So that's 3 on our active location, 1 on our current quest card, and this reads, after placing 1 or more progress tokens on lone lands, each player removes 1 resource from one of his hero's resource pools. So I've got to strip 1 off of Dwalin, and you picked...
Bjorn.
Right, okay. So this is gone, and as soon as it leaves play, Bilbo gains a resource. Yep. So this is hopefully eventually going to help us either get rid of some of those sacked cards, or explore that troll cave. So we don't have anywhere to travel to. We do have this Suspicious Crow that's going to by default engage with you. Do you think you can handle it?
I think so.
Alright, it's pretty scary.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and give it a shadow card. And who do you want to deal with this attack of 1?
I'll have Gimli.
Alright, so Gimli's blocking. So, Gimli defends. The shadow card is the defending character gets -1 defense. And this is actually a fantastic shadow card to see, because that when revealed is god-awful. So Gimli's 1 defense fortunately saves him from that 1 attack strength. How do you want to deal with Suspicious Crow? Alright, so Bjorn swats it out of the air. It is immediately killed. Its shadow card is immediately killed.
Yep.
Alright, so 1 notch on his bear paw there.
Yeah.
Shall we refresh?
We shall.
Alright, so Control R, I'm at 32. And you've made me first player. I'll take back little Bilbo here. I'll draw a card. I will do my resources. I drew a worthless copy of Legacy of Durin. So before I get to my planning, I'm going to be sure to give Bilbo one resource, and I'm going to make sure to draw my extra card that I get from Ori here, because I've got 5 dwarves. And I ended up drawing something pretty interesting. I suppose I'm going to put this Cram card on Dane Ironfoot. So if I end up getting a troll, that's going to make it all the easier for me to deal with. I don't think I'm actually going to end up doing anything for planning. Checking the Octagon chat log, it seems like I forgot to draw a card when I played Keeley, but since I missed that response, I'm not going to go ahead and make up for it now. So not quite used to playing modern day decks, but hopefully I'll get used to it soon. So anything from you for planning?
I am going to play Galadrim's Greeting.
Okay.
So I'm going to lower my threat by 6.
Awesome.
And then that is all I am going to do.
Alright, so why don't we go ahead and do questing? And we've only got 2 progress tokens before we pass, and then these trolls come and engage us. And it looks like Bert, for sure, is going to be coming and engaging us. And Tom is going to be engaging me next turn. And Tom is the one that I really would like to see killed. I guess, what should we send for questing?
Well, I would prefer to, if at all possible, buy us another turn. So I'm not going to send anyone to the quest.
Okay. Well, if that's what you want, why don't I maybe send... I guess, should I send 4 or should I send 3? I suppose I'm going to go ahead and send 4. So let's see how this turns out. Encounter card number 1. Oh, a Roastum or Boilum. And this is our 3rd and final copy in the encounter deck. They've all been within the first 9 cards.
You know what's funny is I took out the Horn of Gondor because I was like, there's only 4, a couple of enemies in the whole thing. There won't be allies leaving play all that often. And boy, was I ever wrong.
Right, so. And I deliberately didn't include Hardy Leadership or healing effects because I figured it was not going to be a big deal. So 3 of my allies that I was very much looking forward to getting some resources from. And of course, now I don't have that 5 dwarf character threshold, so that is
or chump
really...
blockers.
Right, yes, that really sucks. So, I guess let's see encounter card number 2, which is... a Troll Camp. So this location gives all troll enemies in the staging area +1 threat, and while it's in play, Bilbo gains an ability where we can exhaust him and spend 1 Baggins resource to remove a sack card from a character, and he can trigger that effect even if he happens to have a sack attached to him. So this is kind of daunting in that it provides a ton of threat, and we've got a lot less willpower now, especially on my side of the table. But it looks like we're only going to end up making 1 quest progress, so we've yet to bring those trolls into play.
Yep.
For travel, do we want to travel to this troll camp?
I would vote no. While the threat is nasty, it's better to get rid of the sacks, and the only way for that to happen is if this remains in the staging area, so that would be my vote.
Yeah, this is definitely tricky. I think that since the trolls come in after we've successfully resolved the quest, we're probably not going to have to deal with that +1 threat to each of them effect, so I suppose we can leave that sitting in the staging area.
Okay.
Hopefully giving us a little bit more time to get some allies back.
Yep.
Shall we refresh, I suppose?
Yep.
Alright, so Control R, I'll make you first player. Here's Bilbo, I'll give him a resource. I'll do my resources. I will draw only 1 card. And what are you doing for planning?
All right, so I will play a Veteran Axe Hand.
All right.
So I can lower my threat by 1.
Great. 4 lower than me.
And that is all that I am going to do.
All right, so hopefully when we bring those trolls into play, we don't have a suspicious crow or 2 that I'll have to deal with. So let's see here. For my planning... I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend 2 resources off of Ori to do a Miner of the Iron Hills, and this time I'll be sure to remember to draw a card per Legacy of Durin. I have a 2nd copy of our Wizard Friend and a couple ambushes, so he might make dealing with the trolls a little bit easier. I think I'm also going to end up doing We Are Not Idle. So I'm going to go ahead and not exhaust any characters. I'm just going to draw a card, which is a Daron's Runes that I will go ahead and play. So I will draw 2 cards, one of which was an Astari Companion, one of which was a Very Good Tale. The card I picked to discard is a unnecessary copy of Legacy of Durin. So that'll go in my discard pile. And this gives me some interesting options now. And I think that's it for my planning. So for questing, we're up against 3.
Okay.
We need to make 1 progress.
I will send 3.
Okay, so are we looking like we should push through this round?
I don't think we're going to end up having a choice, but yeah. Unless we drew a bunch of locations or something.
So I can definitely send 3. I suppose I could try and ensure that we push through and send 5. And then I might not be able to do quite so much damage to a troll if I get one, but I think it's probably better that we just try and push through.
Yeah.
So I suppose I'll send 5. I guess since we've got that troll camp in play, we want to leave Bilbo unexhausted.
Yep, that's why I didn't send him.
Right, to get off a couple sacks.
Yep.
Perfect. So it looks like we're going to do a total of 8. So hopefully it's going to be enough. Let's see what we get. Encounter card number 1 is a Dreary Hills. So after placing 1 or more progress tokens, we have to discard a card at random from our hands, which sucks.
Yep, don't want to do that.
And as soon as it leaves play, Bilbo gains a resource. So that is 3 threat against us. The next card is a Suspicious Crow. And when revealed, we have to reveal the top card of the encounter deck and add it to the staging area if able, which is, again, this goddamn roast 'em or boil 'em. So when revealed, deal 1 damage to each ally. Fortunately, there aren't any enemies in the staging area. That's 1 damage on my minor, 1 damage on your veteran.
Yeah, well, the one time we don't do Thalon.
Is that the 4th time that we've had that trigger, or the 5th time?
I think it's the 4th, but certainly 1 is too many.
Right, exactly. So it looks like we make a total of 1 progress, which completes this phase. And we move on to Quest Phase 2A, which reads, add the set-aside troll enemies and the troll cave to the staging area, shuffle the encounter discard pile back into the encounter deck.
Oh, great, more roast them.
So, exactly. Since we were lucky enough to get those, I guess let's go ahead and move those into the encounter deck. Let's go ahead and shuffle those, and we're going to add all these cards to the staging area. So let's see here. I guess let me put these in order of their threat. So, all of a sudden there is just an absurd amount of threat sitting in the staging area.
Well, one thing before we begin is Bilbo needs an extra resource.
Alright, I missed that this turn?
Yep.
Alright, so I'll go ahead and give him a resource. And I suppose this brings us to travel.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to move to the troll camp?
I suppose so.
Okay, because otherwise that's essentially contributing 6 threat, which is a little bit frightening to me. So we'll make that the active location. For engagement, it looks like Tom and Bert and the Suspicious Crow are all eligible to come down to me. Do you want to optionally engage Tom? He's the guy that enables us to attack trolls with more than 1 character at once.
Once he's killed, yeah.
Right.
Yes, I can optionally engage Tom.
Alright, so you'll optionally engage him. So as soon as he engages with someone, we have to do sack 1. So we've got to shuffle our sack deck, and we've got to reveal the top card and reveal it. This is a foul sack, so this is attached to the character, excluding Gandalf, with the most attachments, which is definitely going to be Dane. Attached character cannot ready, attack, defend, commit to quests, or trigger effects, so he can't use responses or actions. If this sack card is removed, shuffle it into the sack deck.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll stick that to Dane. And let's see here, I can do an optional engagement. To spare you from having to deal with 2 trolls, I'm going to go ahead and optionally engage Bert. And again, he's got that forced effect. As soon as he engages a player, sack 1. Let's reveal the top sack card, which is a large sack. So this is the character excluding Gandalf with the highest printed hit points. So this is, of course, Beorn, but he cannot have attachments. So it defaults to either Dane or Gimli. Dane has a sack already attached. It looks like this is going to go on Gimli.
Yep.
Okay. So, now that we've seen all of our enemies that have sacks, this suspicious crow is going to come down to you, doing engagement checks.
Yep.
We've got Troll Camp as our active location, so this says Bilbo gains action. Exhaust him and spend 1 Baggins resource to remove a sack card from a character. He may trigger that effect even with a sack attached to him.
Yep.
Do we want to trigger that to get rid of a large sack?
Yep, I absolutely was going to have Bilbo get rid of a sack, and my first thought was, of course, oh, we need to remove it from Dane, but as soon as Gimli got it, that changes everything. So Gimli cannot have that sack due to all the fantastic cards I have in my hand that are dwarf-specific. So, yep, if you want to exhaust Bilbo, take off a resource for me, because you control him.
Sure.
Through Octagon, rather, and get rid of the large sack.
Right, definitely. So the large sack is gone, and that is one of our precious Baggins resources. I'm going to go ahead and
take control of it.
Take control of a large sack, and I'm going to go ahead and put that in our sack discard pile. So, I guess that's going to go ahead and bring us to combat, and we're going to have to keep in mind that the only rules we have is that trolls not engaged with a player can't take damage, we can't do any attachments, and we can't attack trolls by more than 1 character at a time. So let's do shadow cards here, starting with you as the first player, and that was a sacked shadow card. So let me go ahead and distribute them like this. Alright, so how do you want to deal with your attacks?
I will do the Suspicious Crow undefended.
Alright, and the attack is no shadow cards, so 1 damage to Gimli, I assume? And Tom, how do you want to deal with him?
Beorn will take this one.
Alright, so Beorn, who doesn't have to exhaust to defend. Tom's shadow card is search the encounter deck for Troll Camp and add it to the staging area.
So much for traveling,
then
man.
Shuffle the encounter deck. Right, so that is gonna...
Well, at least there aren't as many trolls in the staging area anymore.
Right, so let me go ahead and look for another Troll Camp. Of course, our next card coming off the encounter deck was Troll Key. Doesn't that just figure? Alright, so close and shuffle the encounter deck, and it looks like Beorn took 4 damage from Tom. I suppose for my turn, I've got Bert, who's going to be attacking me. So I'm going to go ahead and spend 1 of Dane's resources, I guess that's all he can really do, and I'm going to go ahead and play a sneak attack.
I am Gandalf, and Gandalf means me.
My target, of course, is going to be Gandalf, and as he pops into play... I suppose, shall I just damage this troll engaged with me?
You don't want to kill the Suspicious Crow?
I think I'll pass.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw 4 damage on Bert. So 6 hit points remaining. For his attack, I will defend with Gandalf. I'm going to go ahead and flip that shadow card, which is deal 4 damage to each character with a sack card attached. The first player can spend a couple Baggins resources to cancel this effect. It looks like that's not going to kill Dane, and all the direct damage is to allies, so I think I'm okay with this resolving. If we need to cancel it later, we can cancel it later.
Okay. I mean, it's your call. I would cancel it myself, but, I mean, you know.
I think we're
Although I could
totally
just choose
safe.
to do it, I suppose. It's ultimately up to you, but if you're okay, then you can do it.
I think I'm perfectly all right. So, famous last words, but Dane is going to take 4
and then your character has died. Your hero has died.
Right. So it looks like the troll wasn't hungry enough to finish off Dane. Gandalf is going to take 1 point of damage from Bert. And for combat, what are you going to do?
Well, Dane is ready, so my veteran axe hand will swing for 3 to kill the Suspicious Crow.
All right, so Suspicious Crow is killed, and fortunately, there's no longer a roast and boil him on top of the encounter deck. Looks like Tom. What do you want to do about him?
So let's see. Gimli right now is swinging for 4.
Right.
I'm going to play a copy of Khazad for free to bring him up to 7.
Right.
So I have to do another copy of Khazad to pump up Gimli by 6. So he is now swinging for a total of 10.
Okay, which is going to be 3 shy, it looks like.
I'm doing 8 damage. And so that's what I'm going to do.
All right, so that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 damage to Tom.
And as a last-minute suspenseful surprise, heavy stroke.
All right. Right, so it looks like that is going to double it to a total of 16, which is very much overkill, but we're going to Control V, add Tom to our victory display here. So that's going to be 4 points. And now we can feel free to attack trolls with multiple attackers. So that card goes to the discard pile. So keep in mind, a Roast 'em or Boil 'em is now the top card of the discard pile, ever so briefly. This Bert has 2 defense, so with this sack attached, Dane can't contribute. My miner's not going to be able to crack that defense, so...
Sadly, Bjorn does not have ranged.
Right, so that's going to bring us to the end of combat. So I guess let's discard the Hungry Troll encounter card. Shall we refresh?
Yep.
Right, so Gandalf bounces back to my hand per sneak attack. Refresh. If you'd be so kind as to make me first player. So before I do my refresh phase, Bert here has got a forced effect where if I don't raise my threat by 1 at the end of combat, I have to return him to the staging area. So I'm going to go ahead and bump my threat up to 35 to keep him engaged with me. I'm going to go ahead and give 1 resource to each of my characters. I'm going to go ahead and spend 1 resource off of Bilbo and exhaust him per Troll Camp's ability to remove a sack card, specifically this one from Dane Ironfoot. I've got to now draw a card, and I'm kind of doing this in a goofy order. For my planning, this is a little bit strange, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull 3 resources off Dwalin, 1 off Ori, and 1 off Dane, and I'm going to go ahead and play Gandalf.
I am Gandalf, and Gandalf means me.
For his ability, I think I'm going to go ahead and do 1, 2, 3, 4 more points of damage to Bert, so he's down to 2 hit points, and that's all I'm going to be doing for planning. How about you?
I can't do anything.
Okay. So, let's see, I guess that brings us to questing. So, we've got currently 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 from Troll Camp, 10, 11, 12 threat that we're up against. So I could definitely send, let's see, I guess, do you have any sort of combat tricks or Bjorn that you could potentially defend Bert for me?
Yeah, I think I can handle that.
Okay, so I can definitely send 5, 9. I can send 9. I could send 10 with the miner. It's a pretty marginal effect, but I could definitely do it. I could also send Dane to the quest and then use Cram to ready him. The only problem with that is I really need Dane and my miner to be able to kill the troll engaged with me.
Okay, well, I'll send 3, 4 for sure.
Okay.
I could send Gimli as well for another 3.
I guess there's no harm in it.
Alright, I'll send 7.
So it looks like we're going to be sending a total of 16. So encounter card number 1 is a troll purse.
Nice.
So this is sitting here in the staging area, and let's see.
Attach it to Bert.
Right, attach it to Bert, and after he's destroyed, we can spend 1 resource to claim it and stick it on Bilbo. This is what makes the troll cave a little bit easier to get, although with our, giant excess of Baggins resources, I'd have much preferred this be the troll key. But that does not even surge, so thank you, Encounter Deck.
Yeah.
Encounter card number 2 is not a troll key. If there is a troll enemy in the staging area, sack 1. So this is going to be sack 1. I don't suppose you can cancel this effect?
Oh, I can. Yeah, so test the will.
Alright, so this is going to be cancelled. So it looks like we're just up against that total of 3, 4, 5, 9, 12. So it looks like we're going to end up making 1, 2, 3 progress on our active location, so Troll Camp is fully explored.
Yep.
And then 1 point on our active quest card. And the way that this works is we have to discard an equal number of cards from the encounter deck instead of doing progress.
Please
and
be
the discarded card is not the troll key. It is this very innocent Hobbit lands. So that's kind of a shame. But the more quest progress we can make, the more likely it'll be that we can get that troll key. So maybe we'll end up getting treasures, who knows. For travel, I guess, do we want to go to Troll Camp or Dreary Hills?
I don't really want to discard anything from my hand. Troll Camp's fine.
So I'll make Troll Camp our active location. That's kind of our highest threat option here. So again, Bilbo's got the ability to pull sacks off of characters right now. So I suppose this brings us to engagement. Neither of us has high enough threat where we have to deal with William. Shall we just leave him where he is?
Yep.
So we'll pass up engaging William at this point. For combat, we're going to go ahead and do 1 shadow card to Bert.
But, ta-da, faint.
All right. Fantastic. So I don't have to worry about him attacking.
Yep.
The way this troll purse works is after the attached troll is destroyed, first player, myself, can spend 1 resource to attach this to Bilbo Baggins. For my attacks, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and have Dane and the Miner of the Iron Hills both swing. It's going to be 3, which is not quite enough to kill him, but I'm going to go ahead and discard Cram before I determine combat damage to ready Dane, so it's going to be a total of 5. So that is going to end up doing 1, 2, 3 damage to Bert, and I'm going to go ahead and control V, add him to our victory display. So that puts us at 7 victory points. I'm going to go ahead and spend 1 Baggins resource to put the troll purse on Bilbo Baggins.
Do you want to flip over that shadow card and hope it's the whatever?
Discard another copy of Troll Camp.
Boo.
Kind of a shame it wasn't the troll key.
No.
But I guess that's the end of combat. We don't have to adjust our threat. Your feint is gone. I suppose, shall we refresh?
Yep.
Alright, so before we move on to the resource phase, we have an action window. So I'm going to go ahead and transfer control of Bilbo to you, and before the end of the round, when Gandalf leaves play, I'm going to go ahead and exhaust him and Miner of the Iron Hills to pay for this a very good tale. So I exhaust these 2 allies. I've got to search my deck and discard the top 5 cards, put up to 2 allies that don't exceed a combined cost of 7 into play. So let's look at the top 5 cards. So it looks like I didn't exactly whiff with this card. I get to put a Longbeard Elder into play, and then I'm going to end up having to discard the remaining 4 cards, which wasn't...
that's it.
Yeah, it wasn't any big loss, but it definitely wasn't any huge gain. And of course, at the end of the round, Gandalf is now going to be gone, and, well, I guess Very Good Tale should go in there before him. And I suppose that's it. But that does put me at that 5 dwarf threshold. So I'm going to do my resources, and I get to draw 2 cards this turn. And I'll put 1 resource on Bilbo, and what are you doing for planning?
Well, I'm going to play a Dwarreldelf Axe on Gimli.
Okay.
That's one of the cards I wanted at the beginning, but it took me a while to draw it. And that's all that I can do.
All right. For me, I think I'm going to go ahead and pay 1 resource off Ori, 1 lore resource off Dane for an Erebor Hammersmith. So I'm going to end up drawing 1 card from Legacy of Durin, which is my steward. Awesome to finally see that. And for the Hammersmith's ability, I'll go ahead and pull the top attachment out of my discard pile back to my hand. Yes, so Cram. I'm going to go ahead and play Cram once again on Dane Ironfoot. And this is looking pretty good for me. So I've got a cancel when revealed, should we need it. I've got a sneak attack, should we need it. And that is all for my planning.
Okay, so we want to quest pretty hard, I would imagine, so we can hope to find the key?
Right, definitely. And the key, I think, the way that reads is when a troll is damaged, we have to exhaust Bilbo. So we might not want to quest with him.
Okay, so I will send 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 once again.
For me, I think I'm going to go ahead and do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, a total of 10. I could also do Dane. I suppose there's no harm in that with Cram. So I'll get Cram out of the way, and it's going to be a total of 12. So looks like we're sending a total of 19. We've got 19 cards left in the encounter deck. Our goal is to get the troll key and stick that on William. So let's see what we get. Encounter card number 1 is a Lone Lands.
Oh, jeez.
Encounter card number 2 is a Hobbit Lands.
Okay.
So we're going to be up against a total of 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10, 11. We're going to end up making 8 progress. So 1, 2, 3 of that goes on our active location, which is now gone. And that means we're going to make 5 progress, which is going to be in the form of discarded encounter cards. So here's what we're discarding. Hoping for that troll key. Ah, yes!
Yay!
Alright, so these cards are gone. I suppose I'll get rid of them in order. And the top card of the encounter deck is our beloved Roast 'em or Boil 'em. So the Troll Key. So if Troll Key is discarded, we add it to the staging area. It is currently unattached and in the staging area. Therefore, it is attached to a troll enemy if able, which is our final troll here, William. And it reads response. After attached troll enemy takes damage as a result of an attack, the first player may exhaust Bilbo Baggins, who is currently ready, to claim this objective and attach it to him. We have 12 cards left in the encounter deck, so let's see here. I guess this brings us to travel.
Mm-hmm.
We've now got the option of potentially winning these treasure cards. So we've got a lot of different options to travel here. It seems like at this point in the game, we want to be able to damage William to get this key on Bilbo, and then travel to the Troll Cave, and then we have to explore it successfully to get the treasures before we run through the remaining 12 cards in the encounter discard pile. So it seems like this might be a little bit of a balancing act. We might just want to stomach a little bit of threat gain, so we don't blow through the quest before we can get the treasures. But I suppose, shall we travel to the Lone Lands, just since
Sure.
it's that big progress buffer? All right, so Control A, and as soon as we put some progress tokens on there, we have to strip some resources, but then Bilbo gains a resource. So, let's see. For engagement, William doesn't have to engage with either of us, but does one of us want to take him?
Sure, I can take him.
All right, so I'll bring him down here with his attached troll key. For combat, I'll go ahead and do a shadow card.
So sack 2.
Right, I was definitely going a little quick there. So sack 2 is the biggest scary thing about this guy.
Yep.
Sack card number 1 is a tough sack. So this is the character
Dane.
with the highest printed defense. Yeah, it looks like that
Dane.
is going to be Dane.
Yep.
So Dane,
I'm okay to see that one.
once again in the smelly sack. No troll camp in play. So
Yep.
sack number 2 is a deep sack, and this says attached to the character, excluding Gandalf, with the highest printed willpower.
Oh, right. We could put it on Longbeard Elder.
Yeah, it looks like it is tied with Ori and Nori, so why don't I just stick it on my stupid character? That's not a big deal.
Yep.
Alright, so I suppose that is that. So, like I said, now we can go to combat. He's got his shadow card. We want to damage him, but not quite kill him. Alright.
So he will be fainted.
That certainly works. So he does not attack. And how do you want to strike back?
So I will attack with Bjorn for 5.
Alright, so he's going to end up taking 3 points of damage. And I guess at this point, do you want to go ahead and exhaust Bilbo? And we can take control of the troll key. And this is the first time I've ever actually seen both of these objectives on Bilbo.
Yeah, I've never gotten the treasures. Well, I've never gotten the treasures before ever, but I suppose you don't always need the purse. But yeah, definitely the first time I've seen both of them as well.
Great. I guess at the end of the combat phase, you've got to raise your threat by 1 to make sure we don't have to deal with that.
Yeah, what was the shadow card, just for fun?
So let's see. It would have been sack 1, unless we'd have spent a Baggins resource. So that does get discarded.
Yep.
And I guess he stays engaged with you.
Mm-hmm.
So I suppose all there really is left to do is refresh.
Yep.
And this is a little bit tricky. So if you'd be so kind as to make me first player, I'll go ahead and do my resources. And I will draw 2 cards because I've got 5 dwarves. And at this point in the game, we want to be able to make enough progress on Lone Lands to explore it completely so we can travel to the Troll Cave. But we don't want to make so much progress that we're forced to discard most of our remaining 11 encounter cards, and then we basically win the game. So this is going to be very close as to whether we can get the treasures or not. But I suppose I've got my planning. I didn't give Bilbo a resource, so I'll be sure to do that now. I suppose I'm going to spend 2 resources off of Dane Ironfoot. And I'm gonna go ahead and play a Steward of Gondor on him. So he has just got a ridiculous amount of attachments here. I'm gonna go ahead and trigger that right away to do 2 resources on him. And I suppose I'm gonna pay 2 resources, and I'm gonna do another Erebor Hammersmith. So I will draw a card, and I'll return my Cram to my hand. I suppose well, Cram doesn't really do me any good on any of these characters. Maybe I'll just hold on to it for the time being. And I think that's all I'm going to be doing for my turn. I've got a cancel when revealed. I've got sneak attacks. What are you going to be doing?
Yeah, I'm not going to be playing anything.
All right. So it looks like for questing, we've got 11 cards left in the encounter deck. We want to be able to generate enough progress to explore our active location, but not so much that we run out of encounter cards and then we don't have the opportunity to travel to this troll cave and fully explore it. So it looks like what we've got to do, since we're going to be revealing 2 encounter cards this staging, and then next turn we're also going to be revealing 2, we're going to be dealing a shadow card to William. It looks like we want to pass, but not by more than, say, 9. So it looks like we're up against a total of 6 threat. We'd like to commit at least 9, but if we don't draw any additional threat, something like 15 would be too much. So for me, I suppose I could do 1, 3, 5, 7, 10, 11.
Okay. So I will send Nori for 3.
Alright, so it looks like I'm going to end up sending a total of 11, and you're going to send a total of 3, which brings us to 14, which is the lucky number. So the 13 dwarves plus Bilbo, that has to be good luck, right? So let's see what we get from the encounter deck. So card number 1 is a Suspicious Crow. Reveal the top card of the encounter discard pile and add it to the staging area if able. Our top card of the encounter discard pile is lots or none at all. It's going to end up doing a doomed 2, so it's not a big deal. I'm going to save my cancel. So that is going to resolve, unfortunately, and let's each boost our threat up by 2. And did you already do yours?
Yep.
All right. Encounter card number 2 is going to be another lots or none at all. So this is going to be another doomed 2. Again, not really worth canceling in my opinion. So we're going to be up against a total of 7 threat, which means we're going to end up making 7 progress. So 1, 2, 3 are going to be absorbed by the lone lands. We're going to end up discarding 4 encounter cards, but after placing 1 or more progress tokens here, each player has to remove a resource if able. I'm going to get rid of one of my spirit resources here, and then after this leaves play, Bilbo gains 1 resource. So let's get rid of that. Let's give Bilbo his 7th resource, and then let's discard 4 encounter cards. So we're running out of those very quickly. So discarded cards are, I guess, not too bad to see gone. Hopefully we've still got some cards left in the encounter deck that might return cards from the discard pile back into the encounter deck. But looks like we've gotten rid of some really nasty stuff. So I will go ahead and discard each of those in turn. Now that we've discarded those cards, why don't we go ahead and travel? And it looks like, for the first time ever, I'm actually going to be traveling to this troll cave. So we've got Bilbo Baggins with the troll key attached. As the first player, I'm going to go ahead and spend 2 Baggins resources, since he's also got the troll purse attached. So 2 of his 7 are now gone, and we have traveled to the troll cave. We've got 5 cards left in the encounter deck. One of them would be going to this Suspicious Crow as a shadow card. Just because I'm paranoid, and Matthew agrees with me, I'm going to go ahead and spend 1 leadership resource off of Dane for a sneak attack.
I am Gandalf, and Gandalf means me.
And I'm going to go ahead and put Gandalf into play, specifically to kill the Suspicious Crow.
Well, I don't know if I'm as paranoid as you. Provided the Octagon encounter deck is constructed correctly, there should be 2 copies of a nice pickle, and whether it's a shadow or a when revealed, it's going to put more cards back into the encounter deck. So we haven't seen that card. We checked the discard pile, so we should have 2 nice pickles coming up. Sounds like a restaurant, but so I'm not that paranoid, provided the Octagon deck, the encounter deck is correct. There have been some that have been incorrect in the past that have been corrected, but yeah, we should be fine with these 2 nice pickles. So, but I do agree that we should be better safe than sorry. So it seems funny to Gandalf a crow, but I have no doubt that I can handle, with the cards in my hand, William. So I think that's why we're going with that.
All right, so at the end of the travel phase, Gandalf is going to bounce back to my hand per sneak attack.
Gosh, Horn of Gondor would have really been lovely.
Definitely. No engagements to be done, since William is still stuck with you. 1 shadow card.
And again, because of my little nice pickle spiel there, I could certainly feint him. I do have 1 in my hand, but I'm going to hope that we get the nice pickle as a shadow card. So I will just be defending with my veteran axe hand.
All right, so the shadow card is not a nice pickle.
Not a nice pickle, no.
The cave entrance, which, well,
we have not seen.
It would have sat here in the staging area and generated additional encounter
It would have.
deck volume for
that
us.
Would have. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So veteran axe hand is killed.
Yep.
And William is still sitting engaged with you.
Yep. And I will attack with Gimli. So he does 1 damage instantly because of Dwardoff Axe.
Right.
And then he's swinging for 3, 4, 5 when I count my axes plus 1 attack strength.
Right.
So he gets 3 damage in additionally.
All right, so he's got 5 hit points remaining. And again, we don't want to kill him quite yet because the Troll Cave is not in our victory display.
Mm-hmm.
So, end of combat. I'll get rid of the cave entrance here. 4 cards remaining in our encounter deck. Shall we refresh?
Yep.
All right, so refresh. I'll make you the first player. Bilbo goes to you. I'll toss him 1 resource. I'll give my other characters a resource. I'll trigger Steward of Gondor, and I will draw 2 cards because I have 5 dwarves.
All right, so I'm going to play a Sigil Miner for 2.
All right, awesome.
To lower my threat by 1. And then I will play Gandalf.
I am Gandalf, and Gandalf means me.
All right, and what do you want to do with him?
I will just lower my threat by 5. Could damage him, but that would leave him 1 shy. But that's not going to do anything, and I could probably, muster enough attack to kill him regularly. So I think, I'll just lower my threat.
And anything else from you?
No.
Alrighty, so for me, it looks like there's not too much I can really do. I suppose I'm going to go ahead and spend 3 off of Dane. I'm going to put a Longbeard Elder into play. I'll draw 1 card per Legacy of Durin. I'm going to go ahead and pay 1 resource off of Ori for an Erebor Record Keeper, which again I draw 1 card. Unfortunately, I don't have enough spirit resources to do anything fun. So it looks like my exciting turn is going to end there. And that brings us to questing. So we're up against 4. Yeah. We need to make at least 4 to explore our Troll Cave. If we make an additional 4, then we completely explore our encounter deck, or finish off our encounter deck.
Right, so I can send 10 if you'll exhaust Bilbo for me.
Okay, so 10. And for me, I'm going to go ahead and do 2, 4, 7, 9, 12, 14, 15. So that's going to be a total of 25 that we're sending to the quest.
All right.
And let's see what we get for encounter cards. So card number 1 is Cave Entrance, a 1 threat location.
All right.
Card number 2 is more like a grocer. So at this point in the game, there's not really any point to Baggins' resources. So I suppose I will let that resolve. So it's kind of horrific to lose 6 Baggins resources, but We don't need them for anything.
No.
I'll get rid of that treachery card. Looks like we're going to be up against a total of 5 threat, which means we're going to end up making 20 progress. So 4 is going to go on the Troll Cave. At this point, we've got to Control V, add that to our victory display, bringing us to 9 victory points. And for our second quest card, as usual, progress tokens are in the form of discarding cards from the encounter deck. So discarded card number 1 and discarded card number 2.
So the encounter deck is now wrong.
Right. Dreary Hills and Roast 'em or Boil 'em. So it looks like this octagon set was constructed incorrectly. So there were no copies of A Nice Pickle. I think there were supposed to be 2?
If LOTR LCG is correct, yeah.
Alright, so it looks like we missed out on a little bit of replenishing the encounter deck action, but since we still have something like 14 surplus progress, it probably wouldn't have ended up being that big of a deal. We easily would have been able to kill William. But looking back to Quest Phase 2B here, it says, if there are no troll enemies left in play, or if there are no cards left in the encounter deck, which is currently the case, we advance to the next stage. This is remove all troll enemies and sack cards from the game. If Troll Cave is in the victory display, the players have discovered the treasure cards Sting, Glamdring, and Orcrist. The players have won the game. So it looks like even though William is sitting here turned to stone in front of you, Matthew, any final thoughts about this scenario?
Well, I feel a little let down by the fact the Octagon encounter set was constructed incorrectly. That's certainly a disappointment. But I think this is my very first time legitimately earning the treasures. I have just played with them for fun sometimes in other quests, so that certainly is a highlight. I'm glad we were able to do that. Sort of sad we weren't able to kill all the trolls, but yeah, it's definitely a fun quest. Conflict at the Karok is very fun. This one, while similar, is totally different. That sack deck can sometimes just be brutal, though we got lucky with our placement of troll camp, so it wasn't too bad. But yeah, definitely had a good time with our first Hobbit Saga expansion quest.
Yeah, I definitely think this would have probably been over much quicker if we could have just focused on plowing through the scenario, as opposed to kind of artificially holding ourselves back, wanting to get that troll key and the troll purse. I thought it was very cool that we actually ended up getting them. I think it definitely subtracted from the overall fun of this scenario that we had to be so careful and kind of think, well, if we commit this many characters to the quest, then we're going to beat it too quickly. It's kind of an arduous process where it's, we have to attack the troll but not kill it, and make sure that Bilbo's ready so he can exhaust, pick up the troll key, and then next turn we can do this. So it's a little bit weird, but we got the treasures on our first attempt, we got our victory. Overall, I actually had a lot of fun playing this scenario. It's certainly not one that I've played very many times. I was a little bit nervous about it, but I think it went very well, and
And, you were so worried about my threat being so high, and I will point out ever so humbly and kindly that I am 10 threat lower than you, and Nori only went off once or twice. So I think we were a little bit too concerned with Bjorn there, and I just love Bjorn. He's a fun character. Though, interestingly, again, he didn't do all that much. I said I had a great starting hand. I had Kazad, Heavy Stroke, Feint, and every turn I kept drawing a Feint, a Kazad, a Heavy Stroke. I think I had all of my Feints, 2 of each for Heavy Stroke and Kazad. So just, had we been able to, I could have just murdered these trolls very, very quickly. I think you're right to some degree that it's arduous to have to plan this way, but so many quests, it's just exhaust, willpower, ready, set, go. And so a lot of quests are kind of similar in a lot of respects. So the fact that you actually have to plan out each sort of thing and think, how am I going to do this, makes it, at least this particular quest, a little bit more strategic and have some sort of depth, whether the depth is arduous number counting or just I can't just exhaust my characters and go and do no thinking. I think people could come down on different sides of the equation here, but I definitely had fun, and I didn't feel like we drug it out too much. There was always some of the troll danger, and some of these, when revealed, are pretty nasty. So I thought it was a right mix of ups and downs, and I certainly enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to our tangle with the stone giants in the next quest.
Yeah. I definitely had a blast playing the dwarves. I think I'd have enjoyed them even more if I wouldn't have had something like 3 allies leave play on the 3rd round or something like that. But I enjoyed this deck, and I'm eager to see what's next to come. So I think that probably wraps it up for the video. Thank you guys for checking out yet another entry in the LOTR LCG progression series. If you enjoyed what you saw, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already. Feel free to share any of your own play experiences in We Must Away, Ere Break of Day, or any of these Saga expansions. Up next is our scenario playthrough of Over the Misty Mountains Grim, so we'll see you again soon.